Hello, everybody. Welcome to What Do You Want to Talk About, a Fanatics and WWE original production. Very special day today because we are on hallowed ground. We are at the world's most famous arena, a very special place for all of entertainment, particularly, of course, sports entertainment, pro wrestling, and I have an incredibly unique and special guest who never just randomly says yes to podcast. In fact, I don't think he's done one in many years. This is a very special, lifelong Knicks fan, creator of the hit series Billions, and a wrestling fan, which I'm about to find all about. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, what do you want to talk about, Brian Koppelman. Oh.
Nice. I'm thrilled to be here, man. This is great. I just can't wait. I've been thinking about it all week.
This, I'll give people a little, pull the curtain back a bit. This happened uniquely, whereas there's some connective tissue between myself and you, and that being Mr. Paul Heyman.
I love Paul.
Mr. Paul Heyman. And I see you are drinking, like myself, our friends at Wheatley American Vodka. This is a American Mule. Cheers to you, Brian.
Cheers, man. I hear you drinking it on the podcast. Now I'm excited to have one. Awesome.
We are here. We're at Madison Square Garden. This is an arena you are very familiar with. Walk me through, what's the first memory for you, this arena and pro wrestling?
Well, you bring up the arena and you'll understand the second you ask what's your first memory, it's not a wrestling memory. It's being 4 years old and my pop bringing me to the Garden to see the Knicks. And that's how the connection to the Garden first happened. But it does have to do with showmanship and a lot of wrestling stuff, because Earl the Pearl Monroe, who used to play for the Baltimore Bullets before he came to the Knicks, there was a guy who would follow him around who was like a manager, like his Paul, a guy called Dancing Harry.
Okay.
And Dancing Harry would follow this guy around, and he was dressed in robes, and he would put a hex on the other team. He was like the Grand Wizard.
Oh, my gosh.
Or something like that. But he was doing it in basketball because...
Cursing people.
Oh, yeah, he would put curses on people.
Like Danhausen today.
And it was the... there was a lot of carny in all pro sports, right? Back then, these guys were barnstorming only 20 years before that. Yeah. So the Garden's a hallowed place for me. But I've been a wrestling fan since I was probably 6 years old or 7 years old. And back then, before the sports entertainment era, if you were under 13 or 13 and under, you couldn't get in. And I grew up an hour and 20 minutes away from the Garden. And
so 13 and under, for these shows, you couldn't get
in to see wrestling.
Okay.
And my 13th birthday, I convinced my pop to take me and my friends to see Bruno wrestle here. And we got turned away at the door. So, and it was, I'd got to say, maybe top 10 disappointments of my life.
Sure. Coming
all the way here. I had posters of wrestlers covered my, like the rec room in our, like really it wasn't even a rec room, it was just a basement. And I was such a fan, and I got turned away. And it was great because you got to take your bruises. I mean, you know what I mean? You got to lose before you get a chance to win. So to do this today and to be sitting here with you means a lot.
I'm curious, you're 13, your birthday, you get turned away at the Garden. I got to ask, how did we turn that around? What did you do that day? What was the especially as you said your dad took you?
It was my dad, me, and 3 friends.
Okay. Oh, so Dad, did he have to kick into overdrive? Was it we threw our hands up? What happened?
I do know a bribe was attempted.
Oh, I love that.
And the bribe didn't. Which shocking thing was the bribe didn't work. And which I can't understand. And I'll say, like your dad, mine, he couldn't necessarily. He wasn't a cheap man. You know what I mean? He would have done anything. So he tried. And I'm sure he tried to like actually slide the guy 520s or something. And we were just turned away scornfully. Benihana is the answer.
Okay, Benihana's a good. I'm not mad at that. Shout
Honestly,
out to Benihana.
364 fucking days a year, Benihana would have been great.
But it was that day.
But that day it sucked. Come on.
Yeah, when they did the fire and everything, it's not the same as seeing Bruno.
You want to see Bruno against Ivan Koloff, and instead you're staring at some shrimp with sesame on it. It's not really. I mean, it doesn't really hold a candle. A Shirley Temple is not the same thing as trying to steal a sip off of someone's beer at the Garden when you're watching Bruiser Brody body slam somebody.
It has to make you, though, when you think of your dad doing that. I think of a story, for example, my big Christmas growing up I wanted a Nintendo 64. Okay, Nintendo 64 was the Turbo Man that year. It was impossible to get. I told my mom I wanted a Nintendo 64. I was at the age where she was very honest with me. I don't think we can do that. I don't. I might have said some things that made it seem like, hey, there's magic here. There's got to be. I wanted a Nintendo 64. Really put her in a position.
Yeah, that's rough.
Difficult. Christmas morning, I opened up a Nintendo 64. Took it upstairs. I put Mario in, and it just stopped on the screen where it just says, "It's a me." And it stopped there, and it froze. And I started it over. It's a me. And I realized my mom, in her attempt to get this, had bought a console-locked, region-specific Japanese Nintendo 64. But I went downstairs and told her it's the greatest gift I've ever got. Because she tried, like so hard. So I'm, Dad taking you to the garden. It gets me.
Even
bribing
that story,
somebody,
though, you're a lifelong fucking babyface.
Oh, no.
I mean, that is incredible, right?
Well,
that is the most Cody Rhodes story. It's disgusting almost.
The side part of that story, the non-babyface part was Dusty then went to where she bought it and told me to wait in the car.
I love it.
And I watched through the glass, and there was a lot of this. He came out with a Nintendo 64 box and every game that came out, and he just never told me what was said, what took place, and whatever he did. But I ended up with it. But I couldn't, after that, I was like, that's, the parents, they try so hard. But again, you're 13, Benihana happens. When did you get your first wrestling?
I love that your dad did that. Because what did you, I'll say, like, I did see my father pull off that kind of move a lot. Like, that's why it was shocking it didn't work at the Garden.
Yeah.
Like, not many people would actually then go back there and convince someone to give you the Nintendo 64 that you didn't even pay for, because obviously she got a deal on it. What did it make you, for real, like, how did that land with you going forward? Meaning about resourcefulness, about, like, did you consider, he's just a magical person who could do that?
I just, I think as a parent, these are tough questions to answer, but I think as a parent, what I learned from him was the ultimate important thing in terms of his legacy was his children. And even at a young age, I got the sense that my dad had been beat up, chewed up, spit out, shined back up, chewed up, spit back by the wrestling business.
Right.
I got that sense because when I'm young, he's not wrestling on top.
I know.
He's executive producer, then he's not. He's booker, then he's not. He's friends with everybody, then he's not. We're backstage, then the next thing you know, we're not allowed. I got the sense he'd really been through it. And with moves like that, it was just, he set a standard as a dad that is going to be incredibly hard to follow.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing in a way that you got that version of him that was focused and attentive in that way.
Well, the thing is, he wasn't with the first two kids.
I know, yeah.
Kristen and Dustin, our relationship's so uniquely different because he was gone. He was Road Warrior. I wanted to be NWA champ. All those things. And that's the life he lived. And then I think when he got to me, he had one shot. Like Eminem style, one shot, one opportunity. Yeah. He got to me and knew, like, I just have to do everything right for him. And again, he extremely babied me, and he definitely he got that with me. But it's so funny because some of the guys in this room actually were part of this. His last interview he did, we didn't know he was going to pass away 3 days later.
Right.
His last interview he did, they asked him, they go, "What do you want, to be remembered as?" And he just said, "A good father." I mean, that's it, right?
What's better for you to have? And this is obviously not anywhere near. I just want to say one thing about your pop.
You've turned this interview on me now.
In my life, that's. But I love having you on the mic. It's great. I'll talk to you. You can ask me anything you want. But one more thing I do want to say about you and your pop, which is I came up in the magazine era, the wrestling magazine era. And I would read these magazines from when I was like 6, 7, 8 years old. I was fascinated by the magazines. I would make my mom take me, and there were 2 different stores or 3 that might have them, and I had to get all of them, and I wouldn't subscribe. I loved the ritual. They wouldn't let me, but I also loved going to the store and getting those magazines and then reading them. The thing is, the way those writers made up their stories and built up those wrestlers.
Yep.
And so someday I really want to make a documentary about this, but then I would go visit a family member somewhere because this is before, for people who are listening and don't know, wrestling wasn't national. So NWA wrestlers wrestled in a certain territory, and AWA wrestlers wrestled in a certain territory. But inevitably, because of how these people were built up, when you saw them, you were slightly disappointed almost all the time.
Of course.
When you saw Abdullah the Butcher on the cover of a magazine bleeding, he seemed like the scariest guy in the world. And when you saw him, it was a little goofy.
Yeah.
Your father was the only one who not only lived up to it, but transcended it.
Oh, great.
I would see your dad, and I would watch him on the stick. Because there was no YouTube, there was no internet. You had to go and put the ears on a television and get it on UHF to try to find a Dusty Rhodes match. And he was everything that you hoped he'd be when you would read about him in the magazines. And Bruno will always be, as a kid growing up here, my favorite wrestler. But right behind him always was Dusty, because he was even better than how they wrote about him. That's why, to me, when he came here and they didn't put the belt on him, I always thought it was a crying shame.
Speaking of, where's the belt? Let's fly her in. I think that's so crazy that, that story of him not winning the belt in 1978 was Superstar and everything, and it's this one. It's this WWE Championship. And then the beauty of being able to come in and do it myself. You gotta get a hold of it.
Oh, yeah, that's amazing.
You gotta get a hold of it.
Yeah, that's great, man.
And
this is...
And your lineage in terms of you being a Bruno guy.
Yeah, no, this is unbelievable.
His DNA is in that, in a sense, the WWE, the WWF Championship, what it would become.
Yeah, Buddy Rogers to Bruno.
That's right.
To Ivan Koloff.
The original Nature Boy.
Yeah,
the full.
I could give you the whole run.
Yeah.
I could give you the run up to a certain point.
So where Ivan Koloff, who's next?
After Ivan Koloff, Pedro Morales, right?
That's right.
And then
yes,
after
sir.
Pedro, I think Stan Stasiak. For 7 days or something like that.
I know, and Stasiak, thank you, sir, always got the rap of being the transitional.
Because he gets you back to Bruno.
Yes, he got you back.
And
indeed.
then Bruno to Superstar Billy Graham with his foot on the rope, which killed me on the cover of the magazines.
Yeah.
And then to Bob Backlund, and then the Sheik, right? I think that's the run.
So 2 questions, because
I
I will fact check. Did you just do it in real time? Yeah. That is the run too.
Did I get the run right? See, it's not as good.
A round of
with the
applause for
internet
getting the run right. Oh, I was just gonna. That run was gonna be right no matter what.
No, totally. We would have fixed it. But the thing is, it's really easy to do that in the internet era. That's the thing. The internet's taken away being able to name all the bass players in heavy metal bands from the new wave of British heavy metal. No one cares. You could just look it up. But I have had that WWE thing memorized my whole life.
That's a very special run. You mentioned, I want to ask you 2 questions, just following up on what you said. You said magazines. This is the Bill Apter era of our industry. What shout out to Bill, he's a wild one. But what magazine was your main magazine? PWI.
I like The Wrestler.
The Wrestler, yeah.
Pro Wrestling Illustrated, the Wrestler, and Inside Wrestling.
Yeah.
Those 3 were all you had to get.
Yeah.
It got a little weird when the Apartment House Wrestling started becoming a big part in it.
It was a big part of the magazines, yeah.
And
for those who don't know what that is, we do have the internet to look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there were like sites dedicated to that. And it's funny because like at a certain age, I definitely didn't want that. And then at another age, it was like, well, this is okay,
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, and I really loved the writing. It's funny because even as a kid, and I think it's one of the great things about the kayfabe era, is there was no one understood that there was something as someone who was smartened up, right?
Yeah.
Or someone who was a mark. These weren't terms really that kids watching wrestling knew. But if you were like really interested in this stuff and you'd read these magazines and then you'd watch the shows, you would start to put together that this isn't exactly what you're, even at a young age.
Sure.
And part of the fun of it was thinking about all of that stuff. I mean, for me, what you guys have brought it back to now has reintroduced all the best elements of that folded into this sports entertainment era.
Amazing.
Well, look at the promo. I mean, the promo that Heyman did on you when he talked about Dusty
Going into WrestleMania 39.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
was, I think, in the modern era, the best, most emotional and incredible moment, because he used so much real information,
Yeah.
that very legacy you were just talking about, his genuine fondness for you, his place in your life,
Sure.
all the stuff the audience brings in.
Yeah.
And as a professional storyteller, watching it, I could watch it both, like as someone who crafts stories and respect it.
Yeah.
But I'd be lying if I didn't say I wasn't emotionally moved by it. It worked. It worked on me. And I know if it worked on me, it worked on everybody. And it's why when you didn't win, it guaranteed another year of engagement, you know? And my partner, the guy I make everything with, we were deep in making the show Billions at the time. And I wasn't always watching wrestling. You know, you go, if you're a lifelong fan, there are periods of time you're watching closely.
Yeah.
There are periods of time you're following it, but you're not watching as closely. You know what's going on. Dan Soder and I always talk about it. He's a lifelong wrestling guy. Everyone always mentions Dan to me, who was on the show and is a great comedian and a lifelong wrestling fanatic. But two things that brought me back. First, Becky Lynch brought me back to wrestling when she really started making her run as the man. I thought it was so awesome that there was a woman doing this. And I remember getting my wife, Amy, and we would watch.
Yeah.
And I loved watching that run. And ended up becoming friends with Becky. She came on the show. And the other thing that brought me all the way back was your run, man. Those 2 years, I would watch all the time. I would follow it because the fact that your pop didn't get it, and that it took that extra year after you left. It was great because it worked as a business story. It worked as a life story. It worked as a wrestling story. And it's what you all do so well. It's what I admire so much about what all you do.
Big news, WWE and sports fans, the world's #1 sports fan festival, Fanatics Fest, is making its return to New York City. Fanatics is bringing you closer to the leagues, teams, superstars, and athletes you love across 4 action-packed days in July. Meet your favorite WWE superstars, get your hands on exclusive merch, and interact with the biggest names in sports. Tickets are on sale now, and fans of the podcast can use code CODY10 at checkout for 10% discount. Head to fanaticsfest.com to get your tickets today.
You mentioned Becky. I said this, I crashed an interview of hers this morning.
Oh, cool.
We were over doing just different radio for just WrestleMania coming up, and I saw her, so I came and crashed it. We'll find out if she was mad about that later or not. She seemed cool, but somebody asked me to describe her.
Yeah.
One of the most fraudulent terms you'll hear, not so much internally here, but you'll see some of the more people who cover us, they'll talk about the word organic.
Yeah.
And almost everything in wrestling isn't organic and shouldn't be, because we're writing this narrative. Shouldn't be like we're writing this. The Man Run is probably the best example of an organic run that anytime when I was doing my executive gig or when I'm at the Nightmare Factory, whatever it may be, when a girl asks me what she can do to be the best in the women's division, I always tell them, don't be the best in the women's division. Don't be the best in the men's division. Just be the best.
Be the best in the world.
In the case of Becky, be the man. Whatever it is, like be the best, because that brings it up naturally.
That was what was so great about that run.
Yeah.
When she headlined Mania, it was like, that woman is right now the best professional wrestler in the world.
Yeah.
It felt like that. It felt galvanizing. It felt like and not for reasons that were separate, not because the culture she just was, because like you're saying, she tapped into that thing where who she was inside was who she was outside on that run. And it was an incredible thing it was really an incredible thing to see.
I think a hard realization for me, and a question I kind of have to ask myself at the end of the day. You're talking about this promo, and this is me and Mr. Heyman going into WrestleMania 39, talking about my dad going to work for ECW, correct? And
talking when he says that he trained Roman, but he didn't train you.
Right. So one of the things that I don't know if it is a burden or if it is a huge advantage, a huge luxury, or if it's both, a privilege and a curse. It could be both. Is my character upon returning has been me.
Yeah.
And when you're that close to it, I have to kind of remind myself that when we put our work up, when the cameras are on and we're out there, It's no longer really me, right? But it is. And this information is. And I think the thing about that interview that I wanted to do was I wanted the world to know that story. And I wanted to connect to Mr. Heyman in a way that we really could never be untethered. It's difficult because sometimes, you were so complimentary of it as a promo. I remember people would talk to me about a Hall of Fame speech I did for my dad, and I don't know how to respond because that's easy. That's an easy thing to connect to.
Oh, of course.
Right?
You're saying you becoming emotionally engaged.
That's just easy. And it's something at the end of the day I have to ask myself.
But didn't you had to allow yourself
Oh yeah.
to have an open experience? Meaning you had to allow yourself, now that's part of the craft of becoming worthy of wearing the belt, right? Is being willing to really bleed, but like bleed emotionally too. Because you can't actually, there's a lot of stuff you could craft and fake all day. And that's a moment though, by definition, because it's not like those words were said many times.
You mentioned like emotionally. I remember I went to LA, after high school because I thought I wanted to become an actor. I really just thought I wasn't big enough physically, even though I'm a big boy, to become a pro wrestler. And Howard Fine was my coach out there, and I remember him telling me, he was saying, he's like, if you really want to know the ticket for you as young men and women who want to get into this, he was saying you just have to be emotionally available. You have to be available. And I think one of the lessons I learned upon coming back here was that's going to be very difficult, but I want to be that every night. And if it's almost counterintuitive or if it almost juxtaposes against what they think a babyface should be, it will work because it's real, because it's authentic, and I'm allowing it to become part of this story.
It's so good that it took the extra year because it allowed that to really saturate, even though I'm sure being inside it and even knowing there were handshakes and agreements and this was happening, everyone was sure that someone was, on Cena's run, that someone else was coming back to be part. There could be a lot of plans that change, and it could have changed.
Oh yeah, I am. I mean, as this room knows, I'm the king of plans change.
Right. And but you had to sort of hold the faith. And that meant that the audience had to hold the faith and stay with it, even though people were sure. And that's why when Taker comes into the ring, it's such a big moment because he was in there for all of us, right?
Sure.
He was in there for everybody who loved Dusty. He was in there for everybody who was rooting for you.
Yeah.
He was in there for everybody who wanted one good thing to happen in the world that day.
Yeah.
And so when he comes in there, it was so amazing because we wanted a hand to come from somewhere and fucking give this kid the shot.
I tried to, after 39, the WrestleMania happened, SoFi, LA. I tell people this a lot, but I tried to look at as many people as I could.
Oh, awesome.
And what I was trying to convey was it's going to be okay. And I think now I'm so happy that I didn't lie to him. Right? Because you said hold the faith. Hold the faith is hard.
Yes, it is.
Hold the faith, especially in my case, gets shaken a great bit. And I just thought I just, as the one thing, pro wrestling good guy, pro wrestling babyface, the one thing you can't do is lie to them. You can't lie to them.
Say more about that. What do you mean?
If I go out knowing, right? Say I'm well aware of a finish 3 months from now.
Yes.
But I have to go out and tell those people I am going to beat this guy without a shadow of a doubt. I guarantee it. And I have to look them in the eye, and even in that moment, if I know otherwise, still believe I'm not lying to them, right? It is a perpetual case of holding the faith. It's a perpetual case of, hey, tonight gonna be your night. I'm gonna beat this guy. I'm making eye contact with you, and I got you, buddy. Or if I'm laying there in a pool of my own blood, the same look, and hey, I'm gonna be okay.
Right.
So I owe it to you It's going to be okay.
Yeah, you're gonna lead everybody out of this.
Right.
Somehow.
And I think all the greats, from a wrestling psychology standpoint, we're here in the Garden, all the greats had a way of doing that. It's a sales business in a way. It's a story business. It's a sales business. But the one thing that doesn't work is bad salesmen. You won't last long.
Yeah, the best heels do it in the reverse, and the people who are really great at that.
I want to ask, because you mentioned the magazines and you mentioned the bunny ears on the TV.
Yeah.
And it's territory wrestling.
Yes.
More your time, more your speed. Correct.
So, well, it was WWW, but
Yeah.
I think for me up until like MTV, the MTV thing kind of killed it for me a little bit.
Oh, okay, yeah. Did it kill it because so many people were now jumping into your world, or was it
Because
different?
there was nothing dangerous about wrestling for a while.
Ah, gotcha.
And the whole point was the whole point was the carny aspect. The whole
Right.
point was that it was something that was forbidden and strange. It was really because when something's a subculture and like a micro culture and a subculture, it's really yours if you're a fan.
Yeah.
And you understand the codes and you understand what people are saying. You know, if you're a kid and you are following in the magazines when they would tip, okay, someone's going to come into the territory, and then they would get that first match against, Johnny Rods or something, and they would win, and you would kind of track that. Or if you were a kid and you loved Billy White Wolf and Chief Jay Strongbow, and suddenly they're fighting the Executioners, and you kind of think Killer Kowalski's one of the Executioners, and they're finally going to get their belt back, and they pin him, and then a third Executioner is hiding under the ring.
Yeah.
And comes out. Yes, you're throwing things at the little black and white television in the basement. You're enraged, but you also love the show that was put on for you, and that you and this small group of people care about so much.
Yeah.
Your outrage is so incredibly big. When it got on MTV and on NBC on those Saturday nights, it just stopped being cool for a minute, and it became everybody's thing. And those people didn't have to they didn't have to put in the time.
Yeah.
They didn't have to learn about who those people were. They didn't have to know who's Ric Flair and who's Nick Bockwinkel, who's Harley Race, what's Terry Funk, who's Dory Funk. Like, they didn't have to learn that stuff. It was given to them. We all had to earn it. You had to stay up late and convince your parents to not watch the TV so you could watch the TV. You had to do a lot to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
And then it was just easy. But then, as wrestling does, man, and I had Amy and I had our first kid.
Yeah.
And we started watching wrestling. Wrestling brings you back, as people say. If you're in
Always.
it brings you back, and it brings you back again,
Always.
and it brings you back again. And and as I say, various things brought me back. Becky brought me back, and your story brought me back again. Again.
You were talking about, you said Chief Jay, right?
Yeah.
So
Joe, right? Was it
Joe Scarpa.
Yeah.
I wish more people knew this, but today, if you and I are wrestling in the ring and you hit me and I decide, nope, no more, and I start hulking up, right? And I start moving, you hit me again, nope, not again, and I wish people knew today that was very common amongst territory, 80s babyface, the idea that, it's not a not sell, it's a, I'm pretending not to be heard anymore.
Right, it hurts actually, but I'm not letting
hurts,
you feel it.
But I'm not
Yes.
letting you know that. When, as much as Hogan absolutely took over it all, but when he created it as the Hulk Up, it's now made it so that this thing is a Hulk Up, which is amazing. A credit to him for creating it. But I wish people knew that used to be every top babyface at a certain point, whether it was Chief Jay with the war dance,
of course, the war dance,
or my old man when it's nope, we're done. Whatever, that was your way, and it's different. Like Japanese wrestling, a lot of people talk about how there's not selling, and they don't realize they're selling that they're not hurt. That's what they're selling. I'm good, and then you find out they're not. It's like when you go to the bar and you get drunk, you're not acting more drunk,
right?
You're trying to act sober. That's that style, and so much of it got taken away because there was one place for it. MTV, like you said, rock and wrestling, then WrestleMania, which we're right here now, and everything it would become. I wish more people knew that. I'll ask you this, because you're you're this area. What territory? I mean, you're closest to WWW, which is a formerly Capital Wrestling.
Oh yeah, of
DC, New York. But was there a territory you wish you were close to, or you didn't get when you saw these magazines?
I mean, to see your dad and Ric Flair. I mean, that's what.
Yeah.
And Ernie Ladd, we'd see Ernie Ladd a lot, but then he would leave. He was my favorite.
Big Cat.
The Big Cat was.
Yeah.
Like, that's a guy I think not enough people really know about how great he was, because the footage isn't that great.
Yeah.
But I think he and your dad on the stick kind of influenced each other in a certain way.
Yeah.
Culturally, they had a similar approach.
Thunderbolt Patterson too.
Oh yeah, I don't know his
Very similar. And again, there's not enough footage.
Right.
There's not the magic you're talking about. Ray Stevens in San Francisco.
Oh sure, yes.
It's hard to find.
It's really hard to find the footage. And like at the time, Ernie Ladd being 6'9", an ex-football player, and the thing on his thumb, the foreign object, he was genuinely. You were scared of him, right? You were genuinely believed that guy could do anything.
Right.
In a way that later, that wasn't the case. But what's so cool about wrestling in this era is that everybody plays with it. And I think you got to credit Punk with it some, like what he did that, when
we're a punk-friendly show.
When he really brought that thing into the world, though, and it allowed all the eras to kind of collapse back. It became the freak show again. I think that's the thing. It's the one thing that I think is hard to put back in is the 10-1, the freak show element.
Sure.
That was really a part of it up until rock and wrestling.
I have to ask you, because this is such a unique perspective you have on what we do and storytelling, your outlook when you're breaking down an episode, when you're writing something, when you're starting it all. Looking at how you just met one, he just walked by in the hall, and I think he was nervous or terrified about whatever we're going to do tonight, that being Ryan Ward, who helps incredibly with both Monday Night Raw and SmackDown now, so his workload is intense. Looking at what we do wrestling-wise, if you were to step into the writer's room for a day at WWE, at HQ, is there anything that you would break and change and say no more, and is there something you would want to see more of?
I'll tell you, I don't have an ego that tells me that I could do another writer's job better than they can do, and especially in a venue that I'm not expert in. I am a professional wrestling expert fan, and I've thought about what you all are able to do, and I love watching Unreal. I don't watch reality TV, but I've watched every episode of Unreal.
You like Unreal?
I love it.
Okay.
I've watched every episode.
Thank you for liking Unreal.
And
a lot of people watch it and say they don't like it.
Yeah, I mean,
We love it.
I love it, and I'll be watching it as long as you guys make it.
Yeah.
And I love the idea that it presents itself as a shoot, and everybody's still working. And it's an amazing thing to
You've
see
nailed
that and watch it.
Yeah. That's why I don't get mad at, by the way. They're like, oh, you're peeling a curtain back.
I mean, come on.
There's 16 curtains.
Yeah, there's
here,
so
guys.
many layers of curtain the whole time.
You don't know what curtain, and I that's why I kind of let you're just working more. The match is just still on.
Of course, you're never. That's the thing. If you guys are, this is the amazing thing about the era that we're in, is if you guys are talking, you're working, and but we can forget it. Like I can forget that, and I can, believe it, and so I would love to. I mean, I'd love to go spend a day or two in the writers' room. But I read Brian Gewirtz's book, and I know Brian a little bit, and it's a different era, of course. But I read the book and understood what he was doing. But I think these disciplines, I mean, it is like if somebody was doing wrestling in Japan, there is an adjustment period to come here.
Sure.
There's an adjustment period in any of these disciplines. So going from movies to television, which is what I've done, or going writing for different purpose, they're different beasts. And so sure, I can think, I know what I'd do. But you guys have to put a show on Monday night. You got to put a show on Thursday night. You got to set up the live event. You got to set up the house show, even though not nearly as many. You gotta set up all sorts of things. And every time I think, hitting a referee out of the ring in a false count, I've seen it too many times until I see it the next time and it works on me and it gets me mad.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
And then it's like, you know what? They got me.
Yeah.
And I think it's really hard. I think it's just really hard I think it's a very hard job to be a writer, and I think that Paul and the guys, both Pauls and the guys, do it great. And I think maybe the best thing about Unreal is how it is truly, I think the most shoot element of it is how uncomfortable it makes Heyman. I love
that the camera's been turned on that room.
It makes him so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like he did when I used to do a podcast, my own pod, Paul and I did like a 2.5 hour pod, and it was like maybe the first time he ever really truly dropped the character. And it was so hard to get him to do it, and so rewarding when he really spoke honestly about his childhood. And now he's more comfortable doing it. But that's way easier than getting him to really let you see people making script decisions. I can feel how uncomfortable it makes him.
Yeah.
Because he's a carny at heart.
Well, too, I think he's conceded to the idea that, oh, yeah, these are good ideas, and this is a good grid, and this is a good map. But the magic now, and I don't think he'd be offended at me telling you, is he sits up in Gorilla, in the corner of Gorilla, and he looks at what's on paper, and he adds legitimate magic to it. I just spoke to somebody. I said, let's put this together first, then go there.
Love it.
Then go there. Let's bring him ours, and then go there. Because if we go there first, we're not even challenging ourselves as artists. He's the cheat code, and I need the cheat code some nights.
Okay, that's a really important thing. So when I wrote you that note, it was because I thought your episode with Cena was like an incredible. I would tell anyone who wanted to break into any part of show business, almost any business, to listen to that, because John really chose your show to lay out his entire philosophy.
He did. Also at like 8 a.m.
Yeah.
With a live round. And that Christmas suit that David Allen made him, that was so nice. And he said, I want you to have my first words after retirement. It didn't work at all, and somehow he made it work. I thought, man, you don't have to do this. We could have, it's wrestling.
Right.
You want to do it the week before?
Of course.
Nope.
No.
Yeah, 8 a.m.
And but it was so great because if you listen closely to it, it gave you a roadmap to be successful at show business. How hard you have to work, how hard you have to be willing to iterate, look at the data, change. And what you just said, I just want to translate it for 1 second, is because people all the time want to know, oh, can I get notes on this idea that I have or this thing? And what you said is, make it as good as you can by yourself first. Keep going. You know it's not good enough yet. Do everything that you can see to make something better. And then if you have the opportunity to go to someone like Paul Heyman or an expert, then get them to help you raise it to one more level.
Sure.
But I think people now, because everything's so available in a way, you can access people. People will write the note too fast, send the script into somebody too fast, try to get the audition too fast, say they should make it up from developmental to the... It's like, do all the work you can, and you will be recognized. And then try to fight your way to the next level. So you're like, let's get our story together and not have Heyman work on the thing.
Not yet.
And tell us the stuff we'll figure out in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Give him the best we can do, and then let him elevate it.
Absolutely. And there's kind of 3 paths and like branching paths. Mr. Heyman might give it I saw this scene once, and this is similar, and the stakes, and what if you said something like that? He'll look at it from the way my dad did. We're making movies, kid. We're making movies, kid. That was always it. We're making movies. Then if you take it the other way, say you can't get that, you got Michael P.S. Hayes down the hall. P.S. is going to take it from the perspective of, where does that leave us in a week? And then don't you want to get here? And that's going to be even better. He's taking it from the perspective of the roadmap a little bit more versus that moment in time. And then if you take it the other way, you take it to Bruce Pritchard.
Right.
Then Bruce is going to speak to you from the perspective of Paul Bosch and Texas, and he's got his own. The flavors here are so wild that, like I said, it's a cheat code, which some nights you need. If you're the schedule can be what it is, right? Some nights, just hey, I've told Kirschenbaum, one of our writers, there have been one night where I said, write it all down. I'll say it. Write it all down. Most of the time, this is my story. It's my character. I want to get it as good as I can, and then you guys fix it up, filter it, produce it for me. One of the things I love about WWE is taking talented people, but then producing them. You're producing them and funneling it. And right now, Hunter has a different style funnel, Triple H that being, than Vince had, than any other bookers had. He has a different style. That's really fun if you're a player for him to go, hey, I want to be your main guy, or I want to be one, but this is my, oh, what about this? Try it, and to try his sandbox, to try and collab and match that idea.
Actors need an actor, not that you guys aren't actors, you're actors plus athletes plus storytellers, but you need someone to look at it and help tell you, well, this is what it's saying. Yeah. And it could say something slightly different. And how would you say it slightly differently? And it's part of the magic of the whole thing.
You mentioned the what do you want to talk about? Again, thank you, the Wheatley American Vodka. You mentioned the one with John Cena. I'm going to be honest. John has made it a little difficult, though, because if you work with anyone in the Hollywood side of things who's like, yeah, I worked with John. Oh, okay, so I'll be first on set by 40 minutes. I'll have more improv ready. I'll be last to leave. Like, he is such an insane hard worker, and I believe in all.
I saw this firsthand because we're on an episode of The Bear together.
Yeah. Yes.
We're both on the same episode of The Bear.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And so I walked on, and I had just heard that morning that John was doing that part, and I love being on that show. It's an incredible thing. But there, he and I were sitting at a little table before that scene started, and he was so prepared and so ready to go, and had so many ideas, and everyone loved him. And you're standing next to him, you don't even feel like a person compared to him. He's like you're looking at this guy who's smarter than everybody and bigger and works harder, and had probably already, lifted that morning.
It's a bit of a problem. It's a bit of I'm saying, hey, there's a few of us who are ready. We always with his challenges.
Also, why does he have to be so fucking polite? I mean, he's so fucking polite to people.
So the politeness, I mean, all of it is the evolution from the QB spot here. Like, his evolution is so unique to follow and watch. I like that I have a little bit of an inside to him before he was fully, I guess, matured. And that little bit I have is kind of the only way I can remind him, like, hey, bud, I get it. You speak all these languages now, and yes, you're incredibly smart. I get it. But, man, like, that was why it was so fun. Working with him was everything I dreamed it would be, because he was very hard on me. And I thought,
there was a lot left unsaid about those car rides. I was saying there's things about those car rides that someone would have to not have microphones to really hear about what was going on with the two of you guys.
He was very hard on me when he came back. He was but not in the wrong way. I do no service to the title that we brought out here. I do no service to the guys. I just wrestled Trick Williams, Oba, his first match. I do no service unless I have this information he gave me, and I try to put it in play. And he meant it. John meant it when he said, the day somebody does all this, they can take it. The day he meant it. And I just hope more guys listening know what that means. It means he's set an incredible standard. And I'm glad, you know how this is, because you grew up liking the industry. You grew up liking pro wrestling. I always hated its cultural relevancy, how deep it would get, its penetration globally, but then the treatment wasn't the same as maybe an actor on a show. It wasn't. And to me, my favorite actors, right? Andy Garcia is one of my favorite actors.
I love Andy.
The other favorite actor I have is my dad. But most people wouldn't know he's an actor. And, it's just, I'm glad that the worlds are starting to come together in a way where it's such a nice thing.
Your dad was also such a good basketball player, right?
It's
just
shocking.
A great, graceful, natural athlete.
His whole athleticism, I'll be frank, Brian, is bullshit. It's not, because he really was, but
it's annoying though, because he didn't work at it. Yeah, it's
so
maddening.
Like him and Harley Race look like big old, just barrel-chested heels. They didn't look like they could jump. He had a great jumper, incredible baseball player. My mom always waxes poetic about, oh, he had these beautiful calves. Like all this, I don't know. Athletes were different, but I appreciate that you saw it, because I'm going to ask you too about Bruno and why he was your favorite. But Dusty, I always am shocked when people think it was his robust and his promo, and they don't realize the third part was, oh, he could go in the ring. That was the bit.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't let you down when you would read about these guys.
Yeah.
And you would see him, and it was as exciting. Well, he had that thing that great natural athletes have. He moved. I think that's part of what he and Ernie Ladd have in common, as different as their body types were.
Land on their feet.
They both could move.
Yeah.
They could move. There was a gracefulness. Your dad, big man who's not a thin big man who could move with a sense of grace it's Charles Barkley, right? It's a fascinating thing to see.
It's wild.
And you don't often see it. But Bruno, can you shoot hoop? Like, are you decent?
Have you seen the video?
I haven't seen you play.
Okay.
I'm a good basketball player.
So you would be, I don't want you to watch it, because you would be ashamed of me.
Oh, no.
And
I've seen video of your dad playing basketball.
That Charlotte Police game where he's just sinking buckets and leading the team, Sting and Lex Luger out there, no idea what's going on, just running up and down.
Yes.
Our friends at Fanatics who helped put this whole thing together, God bless Michael Rubin. He wants to do the Fanatics Fest, the games. No lie, no hyperbole. I missed every shot. And Bailey texted me and said, "Is something wrong with your legs?"
I gotta see it. Craig, can someone please send me this clip? I gotta see it.
It's so, because they thought like, oh, he's probably got it.
Where were you shooting from?
Everywhere. It wasn't a 3-point contest. It was just a shoot around. And the guy,
did you have a hoop in your driveway growing up?
I did, and I wasn't that bad. But then, so I figured like they've seen it, and I wasn't a suit and tie, but it's still no excuse. They've seen it. They shouldn't invite me back. This year, they're like, hey, do it. You're gonna do the Fanatics games. Why? I wasn't in the running, but I think I'm going to go at it.
Shots up ahead of time.
So I think I'm going to go at it again, and I think I'm going to try and subvert expectations this time and get close. Tom Brady won it last year.
Put some shots up.
Yeah,
it's a little practice.
I played horse with him every day in junior high, and I never beat him ever. And one time I got close. It was always a hook. Right. Always like a little space hook, because he was a huge Dr. J fan.
Oh, that's awesome.
Always the hook.
Are you ready to hold WWE history in the palm of your hand? Topps is bringing you closer to the action than ever before with WWE Topps Now, highlighting the biggest matches and milestones from WWE shows and PLEs throughout the year. Topps Now is enhancing the fan experience by connecting collectors to the superstars and spectacles that ignite their passion. Featuring stunning event-exclusive photography, each card is made for the moment. And for some lucky collectors, that moment could become the pull of a lifetime. Along with serial-numbered parallels, some Topps Now releases offer a chance at rare short prints, superstar autographs, and even pieces of the mat, gear, or other items used during the featured match. So, which moment will you collect? With each card only available for a limited time, you won't want to wait to begin your Topps Now journey. Be sure to subscribe to WWE Topps Now mailing list on Topps.com and follow Topps on all social media platforms so you never miss a single moment.
You said your favorite of all was Bruno, correct?
Oh, yeah, yes, 100%.
So Bruno's favorite. Do you have a top? Do you have? And the worst question that wrestlers get asked all the time, but I feel fair to ask you, and shut it down if you don't want to answer it. Do you have a Mount Rushmore of wrestlers for yourself?
Oh, I can answer a Mount, but it's not going to be the Mount Rushmore. I mean, I've watched all the clips of people. I can't argue with what people say the Mount Rushmore should be.
Oh no, but you're
obviously that Mount Rushmore is right. Meaning the people who drew the most, they matter the most to wrestling. But if coming up in the era I did, I mean, it's the guys that were. It's truly the people that we're talking about. It's Bruno and your dad are the first two people on it. You got to have Ric Flair on there.
Great.
That's three people.
Yeah.
And the fourth spot, when you were my age, there were guys on TV who just made you smile, like Ivan Putski, but he doesn't belong up. You can't put Ivan Putski up there. Maybe Mil Mascaras.
That's a great Mount Rushmore.
From back in the day. But if you want to know why, if your question is why Bruno Sammartino.
Yeah.
And I think he's, in fact, I cared so much that my son, who, and it only matters for this reason because you'll understand how important studying was to him, not to me. I didn't go to this school. My son ended up going to Harvard. And yeah, it was great. But here's the thing. His SATs, that you can imagine were important to him, were 48 hours after Bruno's induction into the Hall of Fame. And I made Sam come with me to the Garden. And he's like, Dad, I have to study for this. I spent my life trying to do this thing. And I was like, no, that's true, but it's very important that Bruno's getting in the Hall of Fame tonight.
Yeah.
And he's like, I cannot believe you're going to make me. I'm like, well, none of my friends are going to go with me. And, you got to come with me. And I was like, I couldn't even get into the Garden when my dad wanted to take me, so you have to come with me. And he's like, yeah, but I don't care. And then I said, but when you did, I got you to meet Scott Steiner once. And he was like, shit, you're right. All right.
Yeah.
So we came together, but I decided that night I didn't want to ask any of my friends to get me tickets. I just wanted to come here like a wrestling fan. I didn't want to be in a special area. I didn't want to go backstage. I didn't want to locker room. I wanted to come like the kid that I was and sit in the fucking bad seats and watch Bruno get inducted. And so I had a Bruno Sammartino t-shirt, and we took the train here and had decent seats. I sprung for decent seats, it turned out. But Sam, he brought his SAT study guide. And I'm there, I've mostly lost my Long Island accent, but not that night. And I was, fucking Bruno! And I was so excited and fully in character. And he's sitting next to me studying for the SATs. So watching him get in was this incredibly moving thing. And the reason is what you just said about what matters to you, which is never breaking the promise to the fans.
Yeah.
And there was not a moment. You guys all talked about in the old days, right? And Paul Heyman's talked about it a lot. You would protect the business at all costs.
Yeah.
And if you were in a bar and someone was acting like a jerk, you guys would have to shut them down.
And if you got beat up, you get fired.
Yeah, right.
Bill Watts would fire you at least, yeah.
But you couldn't ever acknowledge you couldn't even allow the question because the business was in jeopardy. And as you know, Bruno's the only guy who never ever publicly broke, even long after he refused it. He would tell his story like that when he did Punk's podcast, and he told that long story. He still has convinced himself that he lifted up Haystacks Calhoun, and that's how he got. He believes he made himself believe the whole thing.
Sure.
And so he made me believe in it, right? He was a lonely guy, and he made kids who would have a lonely, bad day believe that he was in there for us, right?
Yeah.
And when he got betrayed, it was like we got betrayed. And, you go back and watch, and look, I'm not a big fan of the perm era. He made, everybody. The guy made, him and Ken Patera with the horrible perms, fighting each other. But that guy was a true believer, and he rewarded you being a true believer.
Yeah.
And whether, obviously, he knew what was going on, kayfabe was baked so deep into that guy that to his literally to his dying day, he told the story of having to leave to come back and to convince the guy. He tells the Buddy Rogers. Dude, I think he believes the Buddy Rogers match was a shoot. I think he told it so many times that he believed it. So I still believe it. To this day, I would tell somebody else, Buddy Rogers didn't want to give him the belt.
Yeah.
I know it's not true, but it's what I believe in my heart.
But, the man who shot Liberty Valance, he print the legend. And also...
One of my favorite movies of all time. Could be my favorite movie of all time.
Oh.
And I still have a picture of Bruno in my office.
Yeah. Well, you said that he talks about the Superstar and how it went down, winning the title. And the truth is, when it's that good, I don't know if they're lying. And that's the beauty. I have grown up in this business. I should know everything for what it is, right? Oh, that's what it really is. There is nights that I still don't know. And that's the one thing I'm so grateful about being a pro wrestler and being in this world is I still have, that's why I like Unreal. Yes. The challenge of Unreal is, okay, we're going to show them everything, right? Are we? The challenge is, but also him believing it. And to have the soundtrack, you hear it all the time now. People talk about the chants of Bruno, through the Garden, the chance of Bruno in Philly, the chance of Bruno being, he didn't even need music. Of course, there was none then, but just the fact that it echoed throughout to be people's, you'll hear this a lot from different wrestling bookers. You'll hear them say, I want to make him my guy. That's my guy. I didn't realize the importance of my guy until later in my career, what it really means. It means you are responsible that everyone here had a good time. And if you are beaten up and sad and broken, you still need to make sure that they know at the end of the night, okay, not my guy's night, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be,
This is really, what you just said is really, you're getting right to the heart of why this all matters so much. I don't know if you ever saw Penn and Teller, you know, the magicians.
I once saw them actually in Vegas.
When they did their old show at the West Side Arts Theater, the first show, it had a lot of Carney 10-in-1 elements to it. In the end of the show, which Penn doesn't do anymore, but he would eat fire. And he would deconstruct what everybody thinks, you know, cold fire it is to eat fire, and why you eat fire, and how you eat fire. And he said, you know, oftentimes some guy who's trying to be smart for his date will try to tell them, let me explain to you how this is done. And he said, that's the wrong question. The wrong question isn't, how do I eat fire? That's the wrong question. The right question is, why do I eat fire?
Yeah.
And when you think of it that way, why do you do what you do? Because there is some kid there who needs you to do it.
Yeah.
Who had a day that you can't even imagine today. And one thing after another went bad, maybe very bad. But he can believe in the deal you're making with him that you're going to fight for the good.
Yeah.
And it's so important that that exists in a world that offers it almost nowhere. Yeah. And the fact that every night you guys show up to do that. And you show up because you know that somebody in the... Yeah, most people, they're just having a fun night out. Yeah. But for some people, and even if it's just one or two people, it means the entire world to them. And that's the importance of what you do. It's the thing that a lot of, you know, maybe people don't understand. And when you say, well, why shouldn't people understand what Dusty did in the ring and what he gave of himself and the acting? But the people who needed it on that, I needed Bruno. There were nights, I mean, when I was 12 and a half, and my closest friend committed suicide. And, you know, no one can explain that to you. It wasn't an era where there was therapy easily available. Yeah. But Bruno Sammartino was going to make sure Larry Zbyszko knew that he couldn't betray him. Yeah. And it was something to believe in when you couldn't believe in anything else, right? And that's the incredible thing that that Cena understands, and you understand, and the greatest ever do it understand.
It makes me think a little bit about Flair as you're talking, because Flair's lived kind of like a live wire, the good, the bad, everything when he's in there. I think I've even heard him say it before. Thanks for needing me. I needed you just as much.
I believe it.
That's probably, you'll hear me in like a braggadocious sense in media and stuff today. I'll tell people all the time because they talk a lot about, well, Cody's 40 and Punk is this age. And I always say, well, I don't sweat any of it. Like, I don't sweat any of the new class. What I mean is, I already know how great they are. I already know the incredible moves and the high spots and the athleticism. It's like any sport. It's like college football. The speed's been turned way up. I know all that. But until they find the thing that makes you sincerely connect to them, you're just doing a dance with your buddy. And that's not what we're here for. And we're in the place that lets you have it for good, for bad, loudest, the longest. I mean, we're in the Garden tonight, and I'm excited. There's a couple guys, this would be their first.
Oh, really? Their first time in the Garden?
Oh, yeah. This is their first moment. And to be able to take that and look and I this is a funny thing about baby faces. I can always tell a green baby face, and I'm not the expert on anything, but I can always tell a green baby face by they come out and they go to slap hands, but they don't look at anyone. They touch a face, miss a hand that wasn't there because they're nervous, because they think this is a thing baby faces do. No, look at them. Look at them. If you only get one, I mean, Sid, he's going in the Hall of Fame. Sid would just do one, little fist pound right there. Oh, you could feel it in the whole arena. You wanted to get that fist pound. It's a way to ground yourself to what we're doing. And again, like you've brought this the Cena style of why we do this all out. My gosh, man, thank you for coming on here.
Man, thanks for having me. What a pleasure.
This is special. Do you miss the old entrance?
Oh no, I'm so used to where I live. Like I just take the train.
But I mean the old entrance in the arena. You know?
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I remember
the.
the run. Yes, I have a good story I'll tell you off mic about the. There's a lot of stuff I miss about the way things in New York used to be. But if you're a New Yorker, you have two choices. You can like live in the nostalgia of it, or you can just move forward at the pace of the city.
Okay.
So if I think about that, I'm thinking about my dad, and I'm thinking about coming to those Knick games with Clyde and Pearl, and the crowd chanting Bruno. And instead, I'm here with the crowd chanting for Cody. And
we hope. Or they'll probably be me out of the building, one or the other.
Yeah, one of those.
We're happy with either.
Don't suck tonight.
We're happy with either.
Don't suck. Just, try not to suck, man. And then they'll cheer. It'll be fine.
It'll work out.
Yeah. I mean, could you just not suck?
I will tonight.
It'll be
I
fine,
promise you, I give you my word, I will do my best to not suck.
There it is.
I will do my best. Okay. One more question. Earl the Pearl, what was his manager's name?
Oh, the guy who would follow him around was called Dancin' Harry. And you could find footage of him.
Dancin' Harry.
And he followed him from Baltimore. And then when he came to the Knicks, it was an incredible thing. He would put a hex on the opposing team, on whoever was playing well or on the coach. And it was like a pro wrestling manager.
So we like to do this thing, Wheatley American Vodka. Myself, we consider ourselves the American Dream Team. And I always want to ask our guests who they consider their dream team. The way to put this is...
Explain it, yeah.
Who are you going into a War Games with, right? If you've got 5 guys or a Survivor Series match, teams of 5 strive to survive. That's a lot to say with a lisp. Who are you bringing with you to those type moments?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah. We've had a lot of answers with 6 people, 3 people, 2 people. Who's in that circle? Who's in that orbit?
Honestly, I'm bringing Becky Lynch.
Great choice.
I'm bringing Becky, and I'm following her. Becky came on our show.
Yes.
And the pressure, I've seen professional athletes, I've seen famous people from other walks of life who all said like, oh, I'll never be nervous. Don't worry, I don't have to prepare.
Yeah.
I'll come in. The 2 people, and it's not a surprise, Coach Calipari did a cameo and was the same. And now he's not an actor, but he came in cold. He was like you could give that guy, he was sending me tapes weeks in advance of the speech the character had to give and going like, did I do it right? Is this good? He coached himself up and he was incredible. And Becky was the other one. Becky had a hard scene to do, real acting. And she came in and she had to do stunts and acting. And everybody was freaking out that she was on set and nobody knew what it was going to be like. And she just crushed it. So
love that.
I would say I would have Becky and you're on there, man.
Oh, I'm honored. I think you're the first time a guest has actually picked me for their team.
You would be on there. I'm really, listen, it's a serious question. Who would you go into battle with?
Yes.
I got to stick with folks who, I'll tell you, I'd pick Paul Heyman too, because I want someone to think our way out of the problem.
I'm going to be straight. I don't know if he's going to battle a lot.
No. He'll stop. Before the battle, he'll get us out of it.
Old school horse commander. Way up on the hill, you know?
Yeah, I think that's my squad.
That's it right there?
That's my squad.
That's a great squad.
I think we do fine. I'm not just going to throw names at you. I got to think about who I'd really want.
We would dominate
in
with that squad.
In this situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could add Dancin' Harry to curse some people.
I could add a lot of people, but if I'm really thinking about it.
I love that. Thank you so much.
I'm not just going to pick big guys. I'm not just going to pick, Roman.
Well, he's pretty big. I always pick a lot of shooters. Like anyone who tells me like, oh, I'd bring in Chad Gable. Sure. I'm like, yep, we'd win. Yeah. So
I'd bring. You'd pick Brock, but then let's say you pick Brock, and then the plane there crashes. He's going to eat you. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're going to be food. So I don't want to.
I've never pulled that thread too far.
But if you think about it,
you would be his.
He's for it. If you think about it, that guy goes out, he hunts, he could butcher the thing himself. You're a fucking dead man.
He sent me an entire cow that he butchered and cut for the meat and sent me the meat. But he also sent me a photo of him with the cow.
You see, yeah, you think that, and that cow thought, I'm good. I got Brock on my side.
It's just him with like the vest on and just a thumbs up, and I mean, he's an unbelievable athlete in terms of long-term, storytelling, and then when you develop characters for your worlds. Is there any time you have pulled from pro wrestling or have a similar approach to maybe how a pro wrestling angle or storyline function in terms of your process, creating a character?
I mean, I'll answer it really honestly. Wrestling is so deeply ingrained in me from watching it and reading those magazines that there's no way I wouldn't be. But I will say my process, if you're really asking the question, like, I'm not very analytical when I do that stuff. As a writer, as someone working as an artist, I'm really trying to get to a state of flow. I'm not trying to think, how can I put these elements together? I'm trying to get to a place where my imagination is just flowing. So that when I'm coming up with a character or I'm thinking about what a character would say or feel or think, it's so connected to I'm just, there are so many processes I have in place to do that. Like I get up, I meditate, I journal, I exercise, so that I'm trying to find a way to trick myself into not letting that analytical part take over, so that it's that feeling. I mean, you know it. You know that feeling when you're in a state of flow in the ring, even though you're calling them out, whether the heels call, even though you guys are talking and the stuff coming in.
Sure.
You're not thinking about the character Cody Rhodes. Those are the best moments, are the moments where you're flying, right?
Yes.
And that's where you know who you are, of course. You're not, but you are in that. I describe it as being like barely tethered to the earth, but floating, but somehow hyper present. Yeah. And I think when you're creating stuff, that's the best. And so, of course, I'm thinking of every double cross I ever saw. Somewhere in me, I'm thinking about what makes a character heroic and valiant, and I'm thinking about everything I've read and come across and watched. And a lot of those formative years were spent during the week, because remember, wrestling was only on like once a week, or maybe you could get on UHF, you could pick something up a second time. So you were thinking about all week long, like, what are those matches going to be? What's Dominic DeNucci going to say? And what is Gorilla going to, and you were thinking all that stuff through, and you were imagining these characters. So of course it's in there, but it's not in there in a conscious way. But nothing is really in there in a conscious way. It's all, you take stuff in, and then you hope when you're creating, all that synthesizing has just happened and it shows up,
Can I have your permission to use state of flow?
Yeah, anytime.
Because that is me today.
Yeah.
There's a bunch going on about, well, we could say we need to get here and a little setup for this, and none of it was, why don't we just flow at one time? Why don't we just, we could just pipe dream. What if we say, I love the idea of state of flow. And I feel like state of flow only comes from being prepared.
That's what I was going to say. So people can confuse, just to follow the Cena thing of trying to give like actionable things to people if they're young and they're listening.
Yeah.
Like, don't ignore all the stuff about, like, the way I got to that place is by doing a whole bunch of stuff. Like meditating, journaling, thinking a lot, reading a lot, watching a lot of stuff. And then you write from a place of freedom. Then you have to rewrite and rework the thing and take those things, and then you apply your analytical mind to, is this strong enough? Is this character real enough?
Yeah.
Does the character want something? And I'd say that's the last thing. What's key for professional wrestling? What do these characters in the ring want? And why do they want that thing so badly? And I'm thinking about that in every scene that I write. Because if you think about, what does somebody want? Why can't they get it? And why do they need it so badly right now?
Yeah.
The rest of it is very straightforward and relatively easy if you're prepared. It's like, well, what does Cody Rhodes want? And why does he need it now? And what's hurting Cody Rhodes right now that's stopping him from getting that thing? And if he gets that thing, will he finally be all the way home? Oh, no, he won't. He got that thing, but it turns out that other thing moved. And now he really needs that.
The other thing always moves, huh?
It's got to move.
It always moves.
Oh, it's got to move. Otherwise,
show's over.
It's over.
That's an incredible answer. Thank you. My favorite thing here, you might have heard it when I talked to John, but my favorite thing here is I got to learn. I got to sit here and learn just now, and I get to go apply it immediately in the world's most famous arena. So
Do it.
Thank you. This is the Wheatley jingle. I will play it for you, and I will ask you to replace a single word.
Vodka soda with Wheatley. Wheatley, so good I drink it. This song right here is for the red, white, and blue. You got good taste, and you drink like it too. Wheatley, so good I drink it neatly. Wheatley American Vodka.
So Wheatley, so good I drink it neatly. If we could replace the word neatly with anything, Brian, what would you replace it with?
Wheatley, so good, I drink it.
We love that. We love that. Thank you so much for being here. This is an incredible episode, and this meant a lot. I know you don't do these that often. It's an honor for us to have you, and I say to people about the wrestling space all the time. You know, we're here in the Garden, and it's WWE, and all, but this our house is your house. You're part of our family now. So
Thank you, man. I told myself coming over here that I was going to bring my 14-year-old self with me.
yeah,
And I wasn't going to allow myself to be like a professional and cool, and I was going to just be, like I say, bring that 14-year-old the 13-year-old who couldn't get into the Garden.
Yeah.
I'm in the Garden now, motherfucker.
let's go, Brian. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Cody. This was great. Thank you all. This was awesome.
That was great.
That was really fun,
Thank
man.
you so much.
Thank you.
Dude, what a pleasure.